Good evening, everyone. Welcome to your Tuesday night live stream of the Dynasty Heat Seekers. I'm your host, Bryce Frazier, and as always, I'm joined by the one and only Anthony Leone. Leone, how are we doing today?
I'm doing good. I'm not as handsome as you, Bryce, but I'm still here. I'm doing well.
Brad, came out with that comment last week, and that was, it's too good. Brad's always so nice. He doesn't give himself enough credit at all. But you guys did a great job last week. I did watch a little bit of the show while I was on vacation, and it's good. Brad's a great host, so he's been doing it longer than me, so the transition is probably way smoother. I know he hasn't really been on this show very much, so that was probably different for him. He usually is doing like some defense, or I'm sorry, Debbie leagues and IDP league stuff because he's a wizard at that. But overall, it was a great show, so it was good to see you guys get that filled in. But today we have a pretty fun show, so we are going to go over undervalued running backs. Now, we have kind of gone over like buy low candidates like in the past, so there's some guys that are still on that list. But, I think that was previous to the NFL draft, if I remember correctly. So there might be some guys on there there will be some guys on there that have recently been drafted that we think are undervalued and things like that. But before we get into it, I think we should go ahead and get into some of the more recent news. So we won't get into the actual actions of what we think about it, just how it affects us fantasy-wise is the Deshaun Watson stuff. Obviously, he had another allegation that came out, and it went over some more graphic details, I guess. It definitely did. But what does that do for you fantasy-wise? Are you ranking him different in your dynasty leagues, Leone, after all of this?
Yeah, I think in my opinion, he has to drop a little bit. I think there's more public pressure. He even came out today, made a statement himself, just further pushing this narrative that there is more public pressure on the situation, and the team may not take action. The league may. He may miss time this year. He may miss time next year, and that's even if he is never found guilty of anything. So I think for sure in my own personal rankings he would fall a little bit. But it is still a little too soon to say. There's still a lot of information we need to find out. So it's just one of those things you just kind of have to keep a close eye on. What do you think, Bryce?
Yeah, so there's one thing about this now that is very interesting, and that's that the actual Texans organization has been now looped into this lawsuit, right? To where now they're defending themselves. Now, Deshaun Watson's a millionaire, and millionaires get great lawyers, but the Texans organization, that's billionaires. Now you're getting like the best of the best. There's going to be, I'm just saying his side, I think improves from them getting dragged into it. I hope the truth comes out and everything, gets settled. But I don't, it does affect his dynasty rankings barely for me. I kind of had him at the bottom of the tier 1 category anyway. So I don't really drop him into the tier 2. There might be some guys at the very, very, very top of the tier 2 category that I might or the very bottom of the tier 1 category that I might put up above him. And you asked me a good question before the stream, and it was like a guy like Dak. Would I take Dak over Deshaun Watson? Right now, probably, just because of like how everything's hot and heavy and all the pressure that's on it, like you just mentioned. And Dak's a great fantasy asset. But I'd have to still think about it. Like I make that decision quickly right now on the stream because I don't have time to ponder it, but I would like be looking way more into the situation and things like that. So yeah, it's an issue that we have to keep an eye on, and there's going to be more and more news that comes out on that. One thing to mention before we move on is the NFL has kind of already said that they're not going to make any decisions on Deshaun Watson until it is taken care of outside of the NFL, which might take a year, 2 years, who knows? So that could change. But as of right now, unless I hear something, I don't think the NFL is going to do anything prior to the start of the season. He might be good to go. He might not. It's just so up in the air right now. So,
and the other thing I want to add real quick is I've heard some people say, "Oh, I would never roster someone on my fantasy team that did X, Y, and Z." And in my own personal opinion, it doesn't matter who they are, what they stand for. Our rosters they don't really roster these guys, right? It's just stat lines. So it's just which player is going to produce the stat line that is favorable for your league settings.
Right.
That's it. It has nothing to do with who they are, what they believe, who they voted for, if they vote or not. It's completely irrelevant, completely. So just go by what you think is going to happen on the stat line. That's going to give you more points on your team. And ultimately, it doesn't matter who or how you get those points. The stats are going to be there either way, whether the guy goes to church or not, or likes Diet Coke and you don't. So that's the way I stand on all those things.
Yeah, I will say when it comes to things they've done outside of the league negatively, that doesn't matter to me when it comes to winning in fantasy. But there's sometimes I'm like, I want to acquire a guy that I like to watch. Like I will say sometimes I do that. I'm not going to lie. I haven't as recently because I'm a Patriot fan and there's really nobody worth watching on that team in fantasy value. I like watching the team, of course, but there's nobody worth overpaying on that team. But, if you're a huge Joe Burrow fan and you want to overpay a little bit, like nobody's going to blame you because he's a top level guy. But just like that, like and Antonio Brown, I never had a problem rostering him. Joe Mixon had that thing in college. I'd roster him. So it's like, yeah, I agree that we're rostering points, not morals.
Right.
So. Yeah. And then the second thing was OBJ. So we've kind of heard a ton about OBJ in the offseason anyway. Nothing really concrete. Leone has pointed out that the Rams are really wanting him back, and they would have had him back right now if it wasn't for a salary cap. So obviously they've extended Cooper Kupp. They extended Aaron Donald. They signed Allen Robinson. They're addressing everything else. Maybe OBJ feels a little disrespected. The path to targets might not quite be there anymore, where he might still want to show that he's got it. That's what I think the issue is. I think he wants to prove that he still got it and get a decent amount of money because he did ball out when he did go to the Rams. He was having a great game in the Super Bowl before his injury. That's my thoughts on OBJ. What are yours?
Yeah, I mean, the Rams chief operating officer today or recently in an interview said that if they didn't have a salary cap, they would have already loved to sign him. And, look, I grew up a 49er fan, and I used to remember the 49er teams before salary caps. Bryce, you're probably a little bit too young to remember those days, but it's like if they wanted someone, you sign them, you bring them in. And I see that the Rams, they want to bring him in. And I do think that this hurts Allen Robinson's value a little bit. I think of all the teams in the league, the Rams are most likely to sign Odell. And I think the only person that really hurts is Allen Robinson. So I do think Allen Robinson takes a slight hit in rankings. We just talked about him last week on our show as being undervalued. I still think he is undervalued, but not as much as a week ago based on this new information that came out. My own personal opinion on this matter.
I think it's a huge hit if he signs with them.
Well, no. I understand that, but I'm saying
just the news.
Just the news today lowers it a little bit. Yeah.
Right. Okay. That's fair. I think there's quite a few teams still in play for OBJ. I think the Ravens, Patriots, Packers are all teams that could easily use him and probably afford him. Actually, the Patriots couldn't afford him, so let's take them out. The Packers and Ravens could afford him. So those are teams to keep an eye on for him as well. That's pretty much it for the news and notes. So let's just go ahead and jump into the buy lows or the undervalued running backs. So
sure.
You go ahead and start it off.
Sure. Well, my favorite guy that I'm trying to acquire everywhere I can is James Robinson of the Jacksonville. I always say the team name wrong. Jaguars. How do you say Jaguar? I say Jaguar. How do you say it?
Jaguar.
Yeah, Jaguar.
Yeah, Jag and then maybe Wire. Jaguar.
Wire? I was told you're not supposed to say wire. It's like Jaguar. But I can't say it right. I know. Maybe people in the comments can help us out.
Yeah.
But James Robinson, he's 23. He's turning 24 in a couple months, but he's only 23 years old. He's a restricted free agent next offseason. He's proven he can be a running back one in the league. And yes, this season he may be on the wrong side of a committee, but his current ADP as of June 2nd, which is where we got the sleeper information from, is RB 42. And I just, even in a committee, he's gonna blow that ADP away. And with his age, with him being so young, I can't imagine that you're not going to be able to get more value out of him than a RB 42 overall. And next season, let's say he doesn't sign with the Jags. Let's say he does something like James Conner did. I mean, James Conner was kind of in a similar situation, maybe even a little bit older, and he's gotten so much value after he went to his new team. And I think James Robinson is young enough and able enough to do the same thing just as James Conner did, maybe even better than James Conner did. So I just think he's an incredible value at this point. And I'd like to hear your thoughts on this, Bryce, because we have not spoken about this off air.
Yeah, that's true. James, I agree and I disagree. I think James Robinson is low right now, but I think he'll be lower throughout the season. I think you nailed it when you said he's going to be on the wrong side of the committee.
Right.
And I think that his value is just going to continue to go down to where you can even get him cheaper during the season. Like say you're halfway through your season, even if you're not a contender, or if you are, send a third rounder for 2023 or a fourth and try and get the backup running back for Jacksonville, who could be on a new team and the absolute a starter for your team the following year. Travis Etienne is getting a lot of traction in camp right now. He's apparently looking very good. He's already gelled with Trevor Lawrence from their college days. They spent the 33rd pick, I think, in that draft for him. So they're going to use him. James Robinson they're paying him almost basically nothing compared to the rest of the league, and they didn't spend any draft capital on him. Like they probably don't feel like they have to use him at this point. He's not really a fan favorite either. So he doesn't like James Conner had that Pittsburgh fan favorite hometown, like went to college there, beat cancer. Like he almost had like I went to their game and I swear I saw more James Conner jerseys than I did Big Ben Roethlisberger when he played that one. That was his second year there. Like he was a fan favorite, and people don't think, but it does put some pressure on teams to play players when they kind of deserve it, because James Conner didn't do bad. Like he was serviceable, and that's what he is. He's an average running back in the league, and when he's on teams that give you a good touchdown upside or PPR value, like the Steelers feed their running backs like crazy. Big Ben was a check down artist, and now the Cardinals, Cliff Kingsbury sticks to the run game, and he'll run it. They're inside the 3-yard line. He likes to run the football with an option with Kyler Murray or James Conner. So I'd like to see James Robinson land in a similar value or a similar situation maybe the following year. So I think he is rated too low, but I think he'll be even lower throughout the season. So
yeah,
overall,
I can't agree with you saying he's average. I mean, he's shown that he can be one of the best running backs in the league.
No, I'm saying James Conner was average.
Oh, okay, fair enough.
Sorry, yeah. James Robinson, I'd put him above average.
Okay, fair enough. Okay, we're on the same. We're on the same page then. But in that sense, why couldn't James Robinson then, when he's on a new team, have the same sort of trajectory, just like James Conner did for the Cardinals?
I mean, James Conner landed like a perfect situation, I would say. Like there was no competition really for running back. Chase Edmonds wasn't proven at all. So like James Conner would have to land, or I'm sorry, James
I feel you.
Robinson would have to land like, I think a team like, especially if nobody works out for them this year, like the Dolphins could be really great, like for James Robinson potentially next year. Like there's not any guys there that have really proven to be great.
It's good. Also where Chase Edmonds went.
Yeah, exactly. So they're literally doing exactly like
yeah, I see.
They might have some guys that are good this year, but if they bring a guy that has proven to be good on a bad team that can catch the ball out of the backfield, can run the ball, and he lands there, if Tua is even decent, they have they can't stack the box with those receivers. So all the opportunity is there if he lands in a similar situation to a team that could potentially have really good touchdown upside. Like James Conner doesn't have great touchdown upside he doesn't have like a lot of PPR value. I'm sorry, on any other teams, like other than
I see what you mean.
You know what I'm saying? Yeah.
Sure.
So where Robinson does have.
All right. Well, we kind of agree, kind of disagree. That's okay. That's a good way to start the show. I like that.
Okay. I'll start with my first one. I know you disagree because we talked about or no, I'm sorry. That would be the second one. So
Okay.
Saquon Barkley. He's ranked kind of high. I've got some bigger name guys in here that I think are two of these first three, I think could be top 10 running backs this year. So Saquon Barkley is in the sleeper rankings is running back 13. And listen, I get it. Like the past 2 years have been horrible for owners. Like injury, the whole team has been injured. The offensive line's bad. All the excuses are out there, and they're valid ones, if you ask me. But when Saquon Barkley is on the field, he's the best talent on the offensive side of the ball. The Giants have addressed offensive line this offseason, so that hasn't gotten any worse. If Kadarius Toney can stay healthy, if Kenny Golladay can stay healthy, if Daniel Jones can stay healthy, I think that team can be okay. And Saquon Barkley was great when they were bad still. So if he can stay healthy, the PPR upside's there, the talent's there. He has all the tools to be a top 10, top 5 back. It wouldn't surprise me to see a guy like him, like number 1. Like you saw Saquon Barkley's name at number 1, it wouldn't surprise you if he's healthy. So with a guy that's ranked 13th, that's right out. That's basically running back 2 range. That's a high end RB2 at that point, outside the top 12. I will take him all day as a low end running back 2, or sorry, low end running back 1 that has the upside to be a top 5 talent in the league. So that's my excuse for Saquon Barkley. He's got to stay healthy, and I think this is the year that he does it. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I don't know for sure if he stays healthy, but I agree with you with his ADP at where it is. And the upside you're getting in a player like him, just commanding the backfield. I can't name another player in their backfield. I'm not even sure the coaching staff for the Giants can. I mean, they're just going to give Saquon the ball, and I'm assuming he's good to go. We'll have more information in the preseason with how he looks and whatnot. But yeah, I think his value right now is at an all-time low. Maybe before his rookie season. Maybe it was a little bit lower, but I remember when he came into the league, correct me if I'm wrong, he was at a higher ADP than 13, even as a rookie.
He was top 10. He was top 10 as a rookie, if I remember correctly.
Yeah. So
I know in redraft he was taken first round in some redraft leagues that year.
Yeah, this is basically the lowest you could ever get him for. Even when he was hurt in prior seasons, he pretty much retained that value. I think this is the lowest I've seen him, and I agree with you 100%. This is definitely a good buy. So, yeah, I agree with you on that.
All right. Well, starting off great, but it's not going to stay that way. So go ahead and get to your second. Go get to your second guy.
Are we going to get off the rails here with my second guy?
Yeah, I totally disagree here.
I don't know if you're going to disagree after what I say.
Okay, we'll see.
So my guy here, second up for me, Nahim Heinz Rb, 57. I can barely count that high. 57. How many running backs are ahead of 57?
That's 56.
So he's 56. He's 25 years old, so he's still young. He finished last season as running back 48, and the front office, the coaching staff, admittedly said, "Hey, we did not use Nahim Heinz enough. We did not use him enough, and we are going to use him this year." And I think that as a desperation flex option, you could use him. I expect them to use him more this year. He's a very dynamic player. Reminds me of Tariq Cohen. I mean, it's like he can catch the ball, make a play in the blink of an eye. And I think even if he has another down year, just like he did last year, he'll finish higher than RB 57. So I think it's a pretty safe bet that you're not going to lose value, but you probably will gain value. So that's why I chose Nahim Heinz here, just because I think 57 is just way too low for someone of his profile. Bryce, did I sell you?
No. I don't think he's ranked too high though either. Like I think he's ranked appropriately. Like there's a couple of guys below him that I think I'd rather have, and there's a couple of guys above him that I think I'd rather have. Some guys, I didn't write down some names above him, but some names below him. I wrote Marlon Mac as one, I believe, and Khalil Herbert were both two guys that I would rather have. And then there was a couple of guys above him too. But Nahim Heinz averaged 7 points last season. He had 2 games above 10 points the entire year. So, yeah, he's a desperate. You nailed it when you said he's a desperation flex play. But what value does that really add to your roster?
Like, at worst. A desperation flex play at worst.
I think at worst is going to also his at best. Like, that's his at best. He's not. Okay, so this is a good point because I was going to mention this. So, Off the Schneid said Frank Reich said he would draft Nahim Heinz in fantasy. Okay, so what coach is going to say he wouldn't draft his player in fantasy? That's what I want to know, right?
It's not about who would say that, but who would go out of their way to say they would take him.
He was asked the question. He was asked that question. Like, he was asked, would you draft Nahim Heinz in fantasy? And he said, I would draft him. Well, yeah.
He could have said. He's
not going to say that.
He could have said something like, well, of course. And then leave it at that. But the organization has already self-admitted that they didn't use him enough.
Okay. Nahim Heinz averaged 7 points last year. It wouldn't surprise me if he averaged 8. So, yeah, cool. Like, that doesn't really add much to my roster. I would rather take a dart throw on some of the guys I mentioned behind him. Like, I don't care about the points per touches. Like, I don't think he's going to get a significant amount more touches. That's my point. Like, if Nahim Heinz, if Jonathan Taylor wasn't there, that'd be a different discussion. Like, Nahim Heinz isn't made to carry a workload, obviously. Like, he's not a big guy. He's a back out of the backfield, change of pace. Jonathan Taylor's tired. Nahim Heinz, you go in there. Like, he's not even like a third down back because Jonathan Taylor is also a third down back. It's like, when you're tired, we're putting in Nahim Heinz. That's just how it is. Like, right? Because you have a force like Jonathan Taylor. It keeps defenses on their toes. Like, you don't know. It could be 3rd and 4. And if you have a guy like Jonathan Taylor back there, you're like, well, they could still run it or they could pass it. If you put Nahim Heinz back there, all right.
What if they put both back?
Okay, sure. That's great. Nahim Heinz could be running in the slot more. I'll believe it when I see it. I don't care what people are doing in training camp. I mean, there's been so many things that have been like put in training camp that it's a test run and it does not at all happen in the NFL. There's countless things that have been that way. So until I see Nahim Heinz start producing, like, he's been disappointing for like 3 years in a row. He has his big weeks, and then it's like 4 points, 3 points, 2 points, 4 points. 24 points, 4 points, 3 points, 2 points, 4 points. If you get lucky and you start him in your flex on that 24 point, you hit it. But if you don't, you're going to be disappointed the whole rest of the season. I don't like boomer bust plays on dart throws like that when I could take guys like Khalil Herbert, Marlon Mac, who I think have a easier path to more volume in the long run.
And I do want to add, underdog ADP was mentioned. That's a best ball format. And yeah, I think you would also agree, Bryce, in a best ball format,
he's much, much higher. Yes.
Much higher because when he does go off, you get those points.
Yes.
So I'm with you there. And that's why I'm against using the underdog ADP because it's very skewed on players like Nahim Heinz. But I do think that they will use him more. And I do think he's going to definitely do better than RB 57. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Josh Jacobs once said he was going to be way more involved in the pass game, and he really wasn't. So, like, that's why I'm just saying, like, people, they'll say stuff, right, all the time, but when it comes down to the nitty-gritty, the Colts are going to try and compete to get to the playoffs, compete in the playoffs. They're going to give the ball to their best players. Nahim Heinz is way lower on that totem pole than the amount of guys on that team.
But I think the Colts also got lucky that Jonathan Taylor didn't really get hurt too bad last year. He was a little banged up.
I did say it's a different situation.
And maybe what they're going to do is not use JT so much throughout the year, save him for the end of the season, and give Nahim Heinz some more work throughout the season.
Yeah. Frank Reich, I feel like didn't abuse JT terribly. I will say, I don't think he abused him.
Did I sell you yet?
No, I think Nahim Heinz is ranked. I think Nahim Heinz is ranked. I think his ranking is appropriate. I think it's right where it should be.
All right. Well, let's hear your next one then. This ought to be good.
Okay. Yeah, this is definitely one you don't agree with. Ezekiel Elliott is ranked RB 23 in dynasty formats. Mm-hmm. I get it. He's getting old. Last year looked kind of bad, but Zeke was a top 10 fantasy asset last year. Now, I get it. You don't want to draft an aging aging running back unless you're trying to compete right away. But ranked 23 is kind of criminally low. Like, he has not even performed, I don't think, outside of the top 10 yet in his career. He might have the year Dak got hurt because he also missed some games near the end of the year as well. But I believe his averages are right there in the top 10 every year. Go ahead and give me Zeke at running back 23 every day of the week, twice on Sunday. I mean, even if you don't get the value, like if you're not going to compete, right? You get him and he's doing kind of slow. Your team's not looking too good and he's doing all right. Like, he's doing his like 15 points, 12 to 18 points kind of deal. He has occasional 20 plus. Go flip him for a first round pick in 2023. Like, a contender is going to take that value, I think. Like, if it means, I think they do a late 2023 first for a guy who's putting you up maybe around 14, 15 points a week. I don't see why not. Like, people do it all the time. Like, Zeke played hurt last year a lot too. And people think Tony Pollard's the answer. Tony Pollard is not equipped to carry a full workload. I don't think people get that. Like, Tony Pollard cannot block. Like, if you see him back there, he cannot block. He goes out on routes only. Dak Prescott needs a guy back there that can block too. So I think Zeke's ranked too low at 23. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, so this kind of falls back on what you said to my guy last time. Was I think he's appropriately ranked. I mean, what guys ranked above him would you consider taking Zeke ahead of?
You know what? That's a good question. Let me go to the chat right here, and I'll ask you some of those questions. That's a good question. Because I was about to write that. I usually write it down. I didn't write any on here. So you don't think, like, you're not taking into account, like, he was hurt all last year. Like, he was never 100%, but he would not get off the field. Like, he wouldn't. No,
I think he's ranked appropriately at RB23. I mean, I'm looking at the running backs ranked higher than him: Aaron Jones, David Montgomery, Leonard Fournette. I would take all those other guys ahead of him just as they're ranked. I mean, I have a hard time thinking that Zeke is at a good value because I can't name 21, 22 other running backs I'd rather have over him. That's my own opinion.
I would rather have Zeke than Josh Jacobs.
Okay, I'll give you Josh Jacobs.
I would argue David Montgomery.
No, see, I'll lose you.
I think they're pretty equal. Okay. I it's not crazy. I mean, David Montgomery, I don't know where he's going to be like here soon. They gotta like these rookies. The
thing with David Montgomery though is he's younger. I mean, he's at least a couple years younger. So
he is.
So
he's
already both going to be.
He's already getting hurt too. The way he runs is hard.
But if they're both about the same type of player, you go with
Mitchell. Or no, Elijah Mitchell's ranked right below. There you go. Leonard Fournette, I couldn't like. I think Zeke has at least 2 or 3 more years in him. I think this might be Leonard Fournette's last. I think Zeke could be potentially like more of a longer play. I think he's got value as a high-end RB2 this year, along with
I think you would option. If you want to go with your example of trading a 23 first next year for a running back, I think you'd have a much easier time with someone like Leonard Fournette, assuming he's more efficient as he was last year than Ezekiel Elliott. Right. Because I don't think anyone's paying a 23 first for an aging
Not right now.
An aging running back, even mid-season, if they need a running back.
So you wouldn't pay a 23 first for like Dalvin Cook or Alvin Kamara? They're aging, the same age.
I would, but they're better. They're better than Zeke, and they're ranked higher than Zeke, and they're always going to be ranked higher than Zeke.
They haven't always been. They are now.
But they are always going to be now, is what I mean. Yes.
I think Zeke could finish this year in the top 10. I really do. I think the touchdown upside's there. I think he's got to stay healthy.
Of course.
He got beat up early, of course, but I don't know. He's lost some burst. I'll give him that. He's not going to give you big plays, but if they get inside the 10-yard line, Zeke's going to get a touch or two every time. So I'll take the touchdown upside and he's got a little bit of PPR value. He's good for 2 or 3 receptions every game, I feel like. So we'll see.
You're basically drafting Frank Gore at RB23. That's the way I look at it.
No,
I mean, that's just the way I look at it. It's
Frank Gore?
Yeah.
Like when Frank Gore's career lasted, like
right now, like Frank Gore 3 years ago. You're drafting Zeke as like Frank Gore 3 years ago. He's going to get you 4 yards.
My point still stands. I think he could be flipped. He could be flipped for more, and he's ranked too low. Like it might only be a couple guys too low, but it wouldn't surprise me if he finishes top. It wouldn't surprise me if he finishes top 10. I don't expect it. I expect him to be more around the 15 to 12 ranking area. But he also, I mean, he plays. Like the best attribute is availability, and he's been available for most of his career for how much volume he's gotten. So
I think that's fair. I'll give you that.
All right. Who's your next guy? I like this one.
You like this guy?
I do.
Oh yeah, I kind of stole this guy. I stole this guy from you.
Yeah,
all right. Yeah, I did kind of steal this guy from you. Okay, so Zamir White, running back, 47. Zamir White of the Las Vegas Raiders. I still have difficulty remembering that they're not in Oakland anymore because that's where I'm from, baby. Rookie Zamir White. Now, it may be a little bit too late to buy him at this price, RB47. I think over the last couple of days, he's gone up. There's been a little bit of buzz that he's going to be a day one contributor, and Josh Jacobs' role is going to be lowered a little bit. But I still think now you can still obtain him for a very reasonable price. I think he is going to just climb up rankings as the season goes on. And certainly next season, if Josh Jacobs isn't retained by the team, even if he is, I think he's just going to kill RB47. I easily see him as a RB3 or better. And so I think he's certainly someone to target right now while you still can. Bryce, I think you agree. Maybe you have anything else you want to add to that?
Yeah. So, we talked about how I've been kind of targeting this guy in rookie drafts, especially like later in the third round. He was like projected like early fourth round in a lot of mocks prior to this. And I think you're going to see him going mid third because he's gaining traction, right? Yeah. He's gaining traction. And this dude would be probably drafted way earlier in the actual real NFL draft if injury didn't hurt him, right? So he played on Georgia.
Injury didn't hurt him.
Yeah, you're right. I'm sorry. Injury didn't hinder his draft value. Injury didn't hurt his draft value.
Okay.
Because he wasn't on the field, right? That he and was it James Cook and him both were Georgia?
I don't watch college. I don't know what teams.
Okay, now I have to look it up because I don't want to sound stupid. But I believe that James Cook was also oh my gosh, just looking up the British.
Do you know how many people I listen to on these shows and they like, oh yeah,
yes,
okay, that's college. Like, come on.
These are both Georgia running backs. So 2 Georgia running backs got taken, right? Last time.
Didn't they win the championship?
They did, yes.
Boom.
Georgia. Yes. So James Cook, I always mix up James Cook with Florida State because I'm pretty sure that's where Dalvin went. Which is weird. I know that.
Yeah.
But I don't follow college football very well either. I just end up seeing stuff like that. But they were both Georgia Bulldogs. Zamir White is way more of a polished runner. Like he is a hard runner. And after the draft, the thing that got me to start really looking at him was Maurice Jones-Drew said that Zamir White looks like Adrian Peterson when he runs in between the tackles. Now, when you have a pro caliber running back or former pro caliber running back talking about a college running back like that, those guys know what they're talking about more than we do, right? They play the sport, they watch it, they've been in it. I will take Maurice Jones-Drew's word over any analyst that did not play pro football. So once I heard that, I watched it. This dude's a brute. Like he might be Josh Jacobs and better once it's all said and done. And Josh McDaniels is the offensive coordinator and head coach now over at Oakland as well for the Las Vegas Raiders. And if he does anything, I think he had a say. Like people always say, "Oh, running back fumble, Belichick's taking him out." I think Josh McDaniels had a say in that. So if Zamir White starts getting the ball rolling, he's got the hot hand and stuff like that, and Josh Jacobs slips up once, or even if Zamir White's just outperforming him, I bet it's cutthroat, and Josh McDaniels has no problem putting in the guy that's performing better in the game. So I think that it's time to sell Josh Jacobs, and it's time to buy Zamir White because I think he will be the starting running back. maybe not this season, but I think for sure next season he will be. They didn't pick up the 5th-year option. Josh McDaniels hasn't ever, at least it doesn't look like he's tried to really pay up for running backs throughout his time with New England. They might just play on these rookie contracts, and Zamir White might have value for 2 or 3 years and a little bit this year. So I think that's a slam dunk. When I saw you had it, I was like, darn, can't put that one down. So that was a good one, Leone. Roster him before in your notes. Roster him now before the price is unattainable. I agree.
That's right.
And thank you. Off the Schneid, dual ACL tears.
Sneed
concerned me with,
off the Sneed.
It's Schneid, I believe.
Oh,
is
shoot.
It?
I think it's
I'm pretty sure it's
Schneid. Schneid.
Is it Schneid or Schneid?
I have no idea.
Cody's in here. He'll tell us. I just said, I don't know why I just didn't say Cody. Yes, I like it. Bryce is right. God damn. I was like, Schneid.
Maybe he means you're right on Zeke.
No. He already said he agreed with me on
I don't know. Maybe we'll have to find out later.
He said this when we were talking about Zeke, just so you know. This is the one I agree with you, Bryce. For the most part.
Okay.
I'm sure he probably didn't think
All right. It's
okay.
Schneid.
My third guy. Again, a guy that's kind of like a big topic this offseason because he didn't really get to play last year until the playoffs. Cam Akers is running back 15. My argument for this is not the playoff performances because his yards per carry in the playoffs were horrendous.
It was.
But when you go to the playoffs, you're playing the best of the best. He was not going against these crappy defense. He didn't get to play against the Jets. He didn't get to play against these other crappy teams.
No, come on, you're making excuses.
NFL,
every team is good. I don't want to hear this. Oh, well, he played against come on.
So you're going to sit here and tell me that maybe
he played against the Niners that week. So
teams don't try a little bit harder in the playoffs, and their defenses aren't better, which is why they're there. Okay.
I don't even really disagree with this pick, but you're kind of making excuses for Cam Akers. I don't know about that.
Cam Akers.
Why can't you just say, look, Cam Akers had an Achilles injury and he was a little slow to get all the way full going.
He didn't look slow.
Well, he was only getting 1.5 yards per carry.
When you're getting hit, like right when you touch the ball, and he's still like getting yards after contact, I'd be interested to see what his yards after contact were. He didn't look slow. He absolutely ran over and injured, and almost looked like he paralyzed some dude on the field at one time. I don't remember he did the thing on him, but he didn't realize the guy was actually injured.
Yeah,
like the dude looks amazing. Like if Darrell Henderson and Sony Michel can be fantasy relevant when they get the opportunity as the running back one on the Rams, Cam Akers is going to be a top 10 running back this year. At running back 15, I am going to tell you right now, Cam Akers is going to, obviously healthy, is going to be a top 7 running back this year. Top 7 fantasy running back. Touchdown upsides there. He catches the ball just as well as the other 2 backs did with Michel and Henderson. It's those guys are now. I don't even know where Michel is, but Henderson is basically irrelevant at this point until
Michel went to Miami, I think.
Miami. Yeah, whoop-de-doo all day with all the other 6 running backs.
With all the other Sony Michels.
Yeah, all the other Raheem Mostert, Michel, Myles Gaskin.
Yeah, they're all the same guy. They're all the same guy.
Yeah. Cam Akers
okay, well, for Akers, I agree with you. But I think he's kind of ranked where he should be. I mean, maybe he might jump a couple spots, but I mean, the injury concern is there for me a little bit. I know he came back and looked pretty good, but is he gonna be able to sustain that through just a few games? You know, I don't know for sure. We haven't really seen a player at running back come back from an injury like that. He looks pretty good. I would take him around this ADP wise.
Antonio Gibson or Cam Akers?
I would probably go. That's close. That's kind of what I mean. He's kind of ranked.
That's not close. Cam Akers by a lot for me. Nick Chubb.
I'd have Chubb higher.
No, Akers. Derrick Henry.
I would have Akers higher than Henry just because I'm an ageist.
Yeah, true.
But now, what about Barkley? What about Barkley? Well, no. Your guy's Barkley. So you pick Barkley.
I think these 2 dudes are like I think Barkley is top 5-ish, where talent-wise, where Cam Akers is more 7. I think Barkley's a little bit above.
Okay, fair enough.
So I think they're both ranked too low, right?
Yeah, I understand.
There's another
I think it's a good pick. I'm not going to really argue with you. I just think he's kind of ranked in the right spot, maybe a couple spots, but nothing to get too blown away about. That's all.
What about this is the last one? This is a good one because I would struggle with this one. Dalvin Cook. Really? Okay. I think they're fairly even, honestly.
I think they're about there.
I
do think Akers is undervalued. I agree with you. But we're, when you get to the top of the top, it's kind of hard to, really slicing some hairs here.
That's true. I think he's top 10, where, I don't like Nick Chubb in the top 10 personally, but that's only because Kareem Hunt's there, to be fair, which we'll talk about later.
Well, we'll talk about that later.
Sorry. Woo. Okay. Go ahead with your fourth guy.
All righty. Let's go. Okay. Tyler Algier, another rookie, RB 41. I'm actually a little shocked that he's higher than Zamir White. I think that will probably change after this new buzz of Zamir White is coming around. But even still at 41, I think Algier could finish the year as the lead back for the Falcons. Obviously, it's just the Falcons. You can't get too carried away with that. But as soon as the draft ended, they cut Mike Davis. It makes you think that they're happy with Algier and what they have there. The Falcons do need some wide receiver help, kind of unexpectedly, with Calvin Ridley now gone for the season. Maybe they knew that, maybe not. They drafted London, but even with London, they're going to need more wide receivers in place. So with Cordell Patterson, he was used a lot as a running back last season. I expect him to be more in the receiver sort of capacity, which will then free up a lot of touches for Algier. He had Mike Davis last year had actually a pretty decent size of the backfield, but he wasn't efficient at all. So that's why I think he was released. They bring in Algier. I think he's going to have a good season. I like this rhyme I came up with, and I really do think it's good. The pathway is all clear for Algier. I mean, let's go, baby. RB 41, you're killing me here. I'd easily take him above. We can pull up the list way higher than that.
There's 4 guys ahead of him that I would take him above them. Just Chase Edmonds, Devin Singletary, Ramondre Stevenson, Cordell Patterson. Give me Algier over them. Michael Carter. Give me Algier.
Agree.
Rashad White. Maybe. I'd have to look more into it. Honestly, Algier is not a guy I paid a ton of attention to. I hope Brad said I'm sure whatever it is. I probably don't agree with Leone. Oh, man.
No, we both agree Bryce is the most handsome person of all of Roto Heat.
That was a good one, Brad. The opening of last week's episode. So. My mom had to text me and talk tell me how funny it was. So that's how good it was. But I agree. Algier is ranked a little low. I think he's 4 or 5 spots low. So I put him right outside of 30. You really think he's even lower than that? You put him in the top 32, or I would say 37 is or 36 is probably accurate, because then it gets to Kareem Hunt, Rashad White,
Chase
Tony
Edmonds,
Pollard, honestly,
Chase Edmonds, Devin Singletary.
If I put him at 36, he's above them.
I'm good with that.
Yeah, so I think he's 5 or 6 spots low. I'd probably even take him over Tony Pollard, because I don't want a dude that's just a back out of the backfield. I want a dude that has the potential to get 15 to 20 touches a game, right? So, and Brad even asked, did Algier overtake Patterson? I don't think Patterson. I think it's more of Patterson gets to go back to his position, and he still gets to sprinkle in as a running back.
I think they're going to make Patterson be like a Debo, and they're going to use Algier as more like a traditional running back, get more carries.
Mitchell, then.
Yeah, but he's just not the same type of running back as Elijah Mitchell. But yeah, like that. I think
Algier's a bruiser, isn't he?
Yeah, he's more of a in between the tackles type guy.
Yeah,
he can catch the ball out of the backfield, but they're going to really use Patterson for that. So I just think it's going to be like the Niners. I just think they're going to have more of a traditional running back, and then they're going to use Patterson like Debo. That's kind of my feeling of the situation,
Okay.
especially because they're so hurting at wide receiver right now.
So Algier could end up being like a Damien Harris type of guy where, yeah, he's a low end running back too, but shoot, for ranked running back 41, that's great value at that point. So absolutely buy him. He might end up getting touchdown upside again. The Falcons could be scary in a couple of years. Like if they get a quarterback, whether it's Desmond Ridder comes into the league and he looks great, or they end up sucking this year and drafting one of the top guys, they could come back next year with Kyle Pitts, Drake London, and Calvin Ridley. I think it's unlikely Calvin Ridley ends up there again, but it's possible. That's a scary like wide receiver core or receiving core. So they could immediately jump up to a high touchdown upside team just like that if they get the right guy throwing the ball. It could be a great attraction for a free agent quarterback too. So we'll see. I think Algier is a great pick for that one. It's hard to hate any of these rookie running backs because they're ranked so low, especially these ones that weren't drafted to teams where you think they would be a starter right away.
Yeah.
When they have the opportunity to be one. So I agree with Mr. Algier, and I absolutely hate your saying.
You didn't like that?
It's just corny. I think it's funny. It's just,
okay.
I read it and rolled my eyes. So, all right, this is a guy I've talked about. I'm sure we talked about way too much. Marlon Mac, ranked running back 58. Again, this is a dart throw. Like if you're running back 58 at this point, you're not losing value trying to get this guy. Like if you miss on this, it's not hurting you. Right. Whereas some of these other guys like Zeke, Saquon, Akers, if you maybe reach a little bit and you miss, it hurts your team. Where
come on, I don't want to interrupt you, but
you are.
Nahim Heinz was 57 and you got on me. He's 58.
I said he was ranked accordingly. I said he was ranked accordingly.
All right. I'll let you go.
And there are more guys above Marlon Mac that I would much rather. Nahim Heinz is ranked above Marlon Mac. Would you rather have Marlon Mac or Nahim Heinz?
Nahim Heinz.
No. Okay. So we're going to disagree there. Marlon Mac is the answer for that because the path to touches is better. Like Nahim Heinz is going to have to land in a situation for some reason where he gets a lot more work. He's going to have to land on a team that is terrible, and he's going to have to throw the ball a lot to where he gets.
Man, you're living in the past, man. Just focus on your guy. Focus on the future. Exactly.
But I'm transitioning to where Marlon Mac can be on any team because he can catch the ball out of the backfield. Yes, they have Rex Burkhead. Yes, they drafted a rookie running back. But Marlon Mac has proven to be efficient. Right? He's a better runner than Rex Burkhead, and who knows if this rookie running back, I believe from Florida, Damien Pierce, I believe is from Florida. Tough runner. Like I think he's the guy that had that cool clip where he was running the ball and his helmet flung off and he was still running real hard. Did's a stout guy, probably a similar running back to Algier where he's a bruiser in between the tackles. Give me Marlon Mac all day for running back 58. If he has the potential to be a starter and get 15 to 18 touches a game, he's not very old. I believe he's only 26, maybe 27.
He's
26 years. He's a 26 years old running back. He happened to get replaced because he got injured. They drafted a running back prior to his injury. He got injured. No. He got injured. They drafted Jonathan Taylor.
Right.
Jonathan Taylor obviously was just so much better than him.
Right.
So he got weeded out just because Jonathan Taylor's a freak, where Marlon Mack is still a serviceable running back. He could be a starter and he could still be a starter in the league. And I think the Texans is a good spot for him for that value at 58. Again, there's guys above him ranked. Just Nahim Heinz and some
there are. Yeah, no.
Go ahead.
I agree with you at 58. Take a shot on him. It could really pay off. I agree with that. Are there a lot of guys ahead of him that I would rather, that I wouldn't rather have? Probably not. Like Ronald Jones, like to me, it's kind of about the same. So I guess at the ADP of Ronald Jones at 46, I'd rather have Marlon Mack at 58. I mean, I guess if you look at it that way. Chuba Hubbard, I'd rather have Marlon Mack. So yeah, I mean, I agree with you to a certain extent.
Hubbard's a third stringer.
Yeah, Melvin Gordon's ranked higher too. So yeah, I mean, I agree with you. Take the shot on Marlon Mack. There's enough upside there where I think it makes sense. So I like the pick. I agree with you. There's just maybe some other guys I'd like more than him. So it wouldn't be a huge undervalue, especially like Nahim Heinz, I think would be way higher, but not way higher, but a little bit higher. But I think it's a good pick. I think Marlon Mac is definitely being overlooked. I think he could definitely end up in a favorable spot, especially next year. Maybe even take the lead job this year. Would not surprise me. So yeah, I think
I would imagine he is the starter. Like going into week, like I'm assuming going into like training camp or whatever. I would assume he's the starter, and the rookie has to take his job.
Yeah, I guess
I don't think there's anybody else there.
It just kind of depends on how it goes, I guess. I think it could very well happen, just as it did with Jonathan Taylor very early in the season. Obviously, Jonathan Taylor is much better than anyone else on that organization, but even still, I don't know. He may not start the season. Maybe he will for a couple weeks. We'll see. It might just be a huge committee where no one really starts too, which is very possible as well.
Okay. All right. That's fair. All right. Go ahead and get to your last guy.
This has been a very fun show. I didn't think we would disagree as much as we are. My last guy, I think you might agree with this one, maybe not. Kareem Hunt Rb 33. He's 26. He does turn 27 in a few months, but he's 26. He has obviously dealt with some injuries. But even still, he's performed pretty well overall, even with some of those injuries. He was an RB1 in 2020, just obviously last year, the year prior. And he's going to be an undrafted free agent next season. And so he could very well end up in a very favorable spot. He'll be 27 next year, so still young enough to make an impact. He hasn't really. It doesn't seem like he's played a lot of downs, so he should have a lot of tread left on his tires. So I could definitely see him being a solid option 2 to 3 years down the line. Right now, you're getting him as a back-end RB3. I think he's pretty safely an RB2 to 3 for the next 2 to 3 years. So I think taking him, up near that, maybe just after Zeke range, I think makes the most sense. Maybe 10th spots up on ADP. I think he's a good value at 33. What do you think, Bryce?
Yeah, I think he is too. I will say Kareem Hunt's been one of the most frustrating people in fantasy football. Like, this dude should be on a team, and he should be the number one running back on the team. Like, I think the Cleveland Browns was absolutely like the worst landing spot for him fantasy-wise after he kicked that lady in that hotel. The Browns really like signing some controversial players.
But come on, you don't kick anyone.
Yeah.
But it could have been. It could have been a lot worse than it was. Let's be honest.
Yeah. His was. It seems like minor league compared to what's going on right now.
If you go back and watch that tape, you'd be like, he got cut for that.
Yeah, like I'm instantly cut.
Yeah, like immediately as soon as the video was released. Yeah.
But he's a running back. It's a more disposable position. So
it's true.
It's I think Kareem Hunt. I was just looking at the list. There's like 7 guys that are above him that shouldn't be, including Damien Pierce, the guy that the Houston just drafted. Like backups that aren't as good as him, and he's a backup. Like, he is the best backup in the league at this point. Like, he should be a team's number one running back, and he's not. It's frustrating as an owner, but he is a free agent here. Maybe what you say next season? He's a free agent.
Yeah, next season.
So who knows? He'll be 27, turning 28 next.
No. He's 26 now. He's 27 in August.
Right. So he'll be 27 next year, turning 28 in August. So he'll be 28 by the start of next season.
Let me get out my calculator. Hold on. Yes, you're right.
Yeah. All right. So he'll be 28 starting next season. Like I said, that could be still, and like you mentioned, doesn't have a lot of tread on his tires. Could be good for one more season. I know Matt
has a lot of tread on his tires.
He does? Does he though? Like, he doesn't touch the ball a ton.
And you got to lay out, look, California public education right here. Okay?
Yeah.
You got to give me some slack, man. You got to cut me some slack.
I
Yeah, sure, Santa Cruz, but you got to cut me some slack, man.
Jeez. At least it was a public school. If it was a private school, it'd be a real issue. But,
no, public all the way.
Kareem Hunt is a slam dunk at running back 33. I think he's really good to acquire in drafts. I think it'd be really difficult to acquire him in a trade because whoever had him more than likely had him in their lineup every week. So if you were to try to trade for him at that ADP, you would think I'm trading for maybe a bench player. But in reality, you're trading for a person. You're trading for a startable. You're trading a
RB2.
starting asset. Yeah, you're trading a starting asset to somebody. So I think
agree.
it's easier to acquire him in drafts at this ADP than it would be in a trade because the person that owns him knows his value.
They already know. Yeah, I agree. 100%. Good point.
All right, we got one more. This is a homer pick, of course. But I think it's worth noting because, I was scrolling. It got to the point where I was like, man, these guys are all ranked accordingly. Some might be too low. Some might be too high. But who is just like a dart throw? And I went all the way down to running back 88. Running back 88. This is a guy this is probably a guy that's being taken in the last 3 rounds of deep dynasty leagues, right?
Yeah.
So virtually no value, no draft capital at all, like a 5th round pick in draft capital probably. James White. James White didn't play pretty much all last season. No running back for the New England Patriots was worth much in the pass game last year. Ramondre Stevenson looked all right. He looked better than Damien Harris, that's for sure. J.J. Taylor looked okay. He's not good. James White is much better than all of them out of the backfield. It would be nice to see what Mac Jones does with a more polished running back out of the backfield, especially with this receiving core that struggled to get open last year. They brought in Taekwon Thornton. Taekwon Thornton's not even taking reps with the number 1 team right now. He's more of a guy that I don't expect to see doing anything till next year anyway. They did bring in Devontae Parker. Devontae Parker is good when he's healthy. Problem is he hasn't been healthy since I think Julio Jones has been healthy, so forever. James White might have all the opportunity to be a okay flex play. And for how low he's ranked, I was looking at all the people in all skill positions above and below him, and there were several that I was like, I would rather have James White, would rather have James White, would rather have James White. There were none below him that I'd rather have above him. So I just thought as one of the last picks in the draft, he was probably one of the more valuable assets that I could get at this point. It's hard to say anything against this guy since he's ranked so low. So do you think he's ranked too low, or do you think it's just like he's washed, it's over for him?
Practice what you preach, man. Look at the top right there. James White on my team.
Look at that.
I got James Robinson on there. Zamir White.
Zamir White.
Look at that, baby.
Yeah, Darrell Henderson's useless now.
I got Darrell Henderson. Yeah, no, but I agree 100%. I think I wish I would have saw him on the list. I had first dibs on our list here. I don't think I scrolled down that far. Like honestly, I do not think I saw him. I just think that you're 100% correct. I think he's a great value, especially at that ranking. Now, I'd rather have Marlon Mac, and I'd rather have Nahim Heinz.
Yep. Yeah, he's not.
But I do agree 100%. I mean, there are probably at least 20 guys that are ranked higher than him that I would rather have James White. So I think that's a great call, and I think that's a really good way to end the segment of the show.
Yeah, absolutely. James White finishes higher than Nahim Heinz this season. You heard it here first. No, I'm just kidding. I think I'd still pick Nahim Heinz for that. But I think they'll be close. I think they'll be close. They're the same back. But we'll end it for those that are listening to this in a podcast form. Those who ask questions in the chat, stay tuned. We'll answer those here at the end. Those that are listening to this later, thank you for listening. We will have another one posted next week. And I think we're doing tight ends next week.
Yeah, we might combine quarterbacks and tight ends.
Okay.
Just because, how many tight ends are really undervalued.
That's true. That would be a really boring show.
Yeah.
So we'll talk about some undervalued ADP values of tight ends and QBs that are way too low next week. So we will see you then. Thanks for listening.
Cool. Thanks.
All righty. I know we had one question here from Trey. Let me go back up here because I think I saw one other question that was earlier.
There was a question from off the Snide.
Yes. Wait, was it? Schneid.
Schneid.
Where am I at? Where am I missing it at?
Right above where you have highlighted right now.
What do I have at? Oh, there it is. Yep.
Akers trade.
Oh, okay. Akers trade. 32-team Dynasty
32
League.
team. Holy cow.
Well, I'm
IDP.
assuming-
I don't know IDP.
Oh, my gosh.
Look at
Josh
this
Uche.
question.
Josh Uche is a linebacker for the Patriots. Quez Watkins, wide receiver for the Eagles. And Cam Akers for Leonard Floyd, Gardner Minshew, Singletary, and Gabe Davis.
Look, I don't know IDP.
So, yeah.
I'm going to throw out the IDP players because I don't know who they are.
Well, I can't imagine either of these dudes even have that much. I don't know.
And even if it's
IDP league, I don't even know.
Well, 32 team, like.
Well, it might be split up into 2 leagues of 16, maybe. 32 people are splitting. How would you even fill your roster with 16?
30.
Yeah, the 2 teams of 16. I would guess this is split.
How
up
about
like
8 4 teams? 8 times 4, 32,
no.
right?
Yeah, but I doubt that.
You're like,
I
no,
bet it's 16. I don't know. Hold on. He might have said something. I'm a sick man lately.
I don't think he did, man. I'm going to go with Akers.
Yeah, I would too.
Just because he's by far the best player I can see.
Yeah.
I mean, Singletary, Gabe Davis, they don't come anywhere close.
It's straight 32 teams. That sounds horrible. How many players do you start at each position? Do you just
I guess
one running back, one wide receiver, one?
No, I guess. I mean, quarterbacks would be way valuable. Even Gardner Minshew would be crazy valuable on the off chance he starts. But if I'm assuming it's a 1 QB league, so even if you have another quarterback, it probably doesn't matter anyway, because you're never going to start him unless you have no other options. So I would still say Akers. I'm going to go with Akers.
Yeah, I am too. He's the best player in this trade. I like Gabe Davis. I don't like Devin Singletary. I like Josh Uche too. I just don't know how much fantasy value he's at. I need to do more research on IDP. I'm in a league with Brad, but it's only like $32. And as you know, I play in some more expensive leagues that draw way more of my attention. So I don't pay much attention to it. I just look at who's available and what they're averaging. And all.
Can I ask off the Sneed here?
It said Superflex. It's Superflex.
Yeah, it's Superflex. But it doesn't really – I don't think it matters. It does if you have 2, though. Man, could you imagine having like Mahomes and Tannehill? Like you would be wrecking people left and right in a super flex league if they're starting like Gardner Minshew or
if you have to start Gardner Minshew, I mean that's
or Mac
horrible.
Jones. No, I'm playing.
Okay, come on.
I'm playing. I would, man, I would love to be in a league like this,
you can
but
start 1 QB. You can only start 1. He said.
Oh, or 0. See, you can start 1 QB or 0. So it's like there's no quarterback spot.
32 people. No way you could do super flex with 32 people. That'd be terrible.
It's like a super duper flex where the quarterback spot is also a super flex spot, I guess.
Gotcha. So
I would.
Okay, yeah, that's what he's saying. It's super flex because the quarterback position is super flex.
So
super duper. It's just
super duper flex. I would like to do a league like this, but I'm concerned with like the turnover of the managers leaving and stuff. That would be 32 teams seems kind of.
I would never want to do a league like this, personally. But Akers wins, I guess, is what we decided.
Yeah, and I don't do IDP.
Trey, if you're still here,
let's go. Trey,
redraft, half and full PPR leagues. Okay, so let's rank these guys in half PPR first. I don't think my rankings change in either. It's redraft.
Redraft. Okay. I would put. I think I might put Cordell Patterson number 1 overall, and then Miles Sanders. Yeah, I know, but I said Cordell is going to be used as a Debo. I mean, he's still going to get touches. He's going to get receptions.
You're not about to put Miles Sanders above CEH, are you?
I wouldn't be that against it. I don't think that CEH and Miles Sanders are that far apart in a redraft setting. I mean, in a dynasty setting, I would put Clyde Edwards-Helaire first out of all these guys just based on age, I think, and upside. But in a redraft setting, what's the difference between CEH and Miles Sanders? I mean, they're both lead backs. They're both on good offenses. I mean, is there really a difference between CEH and Miles Sanders? Redraft?
So. I think so. I think it's CEH number one for me. So CEH last year, before he got hurt, he had a 10-point game, a 4-point game that was against the Ravens.
The Ravens.
Sorry, the Ravens. The chart, then 18, then 19, got hurt against the Bills. Then he came back week 11, put up 15, came at week 13, 11, week 14, 9, week 15, 9, or sorry, week 14, 19, week 15, 9, week 16, 10. He was consistently putting up double-digit points last year when he was healthy. I think he's being overlooked. I don't think his ADP was that bad, but I think he's being overlooked last year because he was disappointing the year prior. But this year, he was actually on a good track to have a solid average points and a solid landing spot if he didn't get hurt. He was hurt week 6 through 10. I mean, that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 weeks he didn't play. So his overall points didn't look that great, but he averaged over 10 points a week. And that's double. He's getting double digits on a high touchdown upside team, and he didn't just come back and take over either. He kind of weaned in back, but he just looked much better than the rest of the guys.
But Cordell Patterson blew him away.
I mean, I know. I do think I know that. But I think
would you have Cordell Patterson lower though?
I would have Cordell Patterson as number 2 for me here because he's 32 now, I believe.
I don't think he's that old. I could be wrong.
I'm pretty sure he was 31 last year.
Let's see.
I'm pretty sure. He's an old dude. He's been in the league for a minute.
Yeah, he's 31.
When's he turn 32, Leone?
He just turned 31.
Oh, he just turned 31? Okay.
Just
so I
turned
knew
31.
Okay. So he just had his 31st birthday, and I think that Algie year.
Bryce, how old are you? Yeah. I know you think 31's old. It's really not that old.
25.
Okay, yeah, it's not that old. I know you're thinking, oh man.
Yeah, I'll turn it 6 years here. How old are you, Leone?
35.
Okay, yeah. So you'll be 40 when I turn 20.
Yeah. Let's change the subject.
The whole decade difference, just so you know. But yeah, I think it's Clyde Edwards-Helaire, Cordell Patterson, Miles Sanders for me.
I can get behind that. Yeah, I can get behind that. I think that's fair. I do think Cordell Patterson will be more involved and has more opportunity because I do think that the Chiefs are going to use different options in the backfield.
I think they have to. At this point, I think they have to get the run game more involved. They can't sit and They can't send Patty Mahomes back there to do all this running around and then wing the ball sidearm down the field 40 yards because who's going to catch it now?
Yeah, no, I agree. And so, but I can get behind your rankings. Let's go CEH, Cordell Patterson, and then Miles Sanders third. Yeah. I'm good with that.
I think CEH is the time to buy now for owners that maybe drafted him and are upset about the issue that him underperforming for his draft value in that because he was taking 101 in a lot of leagues in Superflex that year. And he's
in rookie drafts?
In rookie drafts, yeah, sorry. And
even in startups, I remember he was top 10 in a lot of drafts.
He was going in the first round, yes.
Yeah.
All because they thought he was going to be better than Kareem Hunt. That's not happening. But I think the Chiefs more than ever are going to have to be more balanced. I think that they're going to have to open up that run game. They have the offensive linemen to do it. They really do. Their O-line is not bad at all. They're good run blockers. Their interior linemen are very good. So I think this is Clyde Edwards-Helaire's year to maybe get the rookie draft value that owners bought him for that year. Probably still pissed off you slid past or passed away Jonathan Taylor. Unlike me, I said Jonathan Taylor is going to be more valuable than Clyde Edwards-Helaire. Not many people listen. I think Rick and I were both on that train.
I believe so.
So, but that's why we're famous and we have 2 people watching us. So
That's true.
Does Ronald Jones not scare y'all a bit? Trey, no, not really.
No.
Ronald Jones didn't do anything. Like, if I understand Leonard Fournette's better than Clyde Edwards-Helaire, but Ronald Jones is just not very good. Like, he is not a good blocker. He has fumbling issues. He is not a good back out of the backfield. He's got great straight line speed, and that's about it. Like, that's it for me. Like, he can go. He gets tackled. He gets arm tackled easily too. He's just not a very good player. And thanks for watching. You're newer. I haven't seen you in the chat at all before, but Rick Butts is the guru of Roto Heat, the leader, and he and I both hate Ronald Jones.
Let me just add this. Ronald Jones signed a 1-year deal with $750,000 guaranteed. I mean, he's basically making the minimum, maybe a little bit more, right? But if he was that good, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers would have kept him.
And Bruce Arians loved him.
They would have kept him.
Yeah.
He's not that good. And so I agree with Bryce. He's not going to factor in that much to weigh down.
I would be more scared of Jerick McKinnon coming back and getting more touches than Ronald Jones. I'd be more afraid of Darrell Williams stayed back. I'm more afraid of that Gore guy that's there. I don't even know his first name.
Derek Gore.
I'm more afraid of Derek Gore than Ronald Jones. We appreciate you, Trey. Thanks for coming and asking questions.
Thank you, man. Anytime. We're here every Tuesday at 8:00 Eastern time, 5:00 West Coast is the best coast time.
I don't know about that. I don't know. I was just on the East Coast. It's all right. All right. That's going to be it. Thanks, Trey, for coming in. Thank you, Cody, for being in the chat as well, guys. Well, it'll get ramped up here. Season's getting closer and closer. I'm expecting things to heat up here closer to the season. We got mini camps coming up next week. People are going to be looking all that. Or mini camp started today, I believe, or yesterday. So
yeah, mandatory mini camps.
There's going to be way more hype and stuff rolling. We're going to get way more viewers. It's going to get way more fun in here. The chat's going to be great. Thank you all for watching, and we will see you next week.
Good night.